Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to This is a Revolution, your weekly RevPro podcast. I'm George, and I'm joined, as always, for number 41 by my good friend, Mr. Dave the Mark. Dave, how are we, my friend?
All good, mate. All good.
Nice.
Nicely rested from a week off of work, and a week at home, and buzzed about the upcoming flurry of shows that were announced last week.
Absolutely, my friend. I realised I've just come into this with such energy to start the podcast, but that's because as we were getting ready to start recording, we just started talking about all the events coming up and go, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and probably should have just waited till we started hitting the record button, but you are not kidding, my friend. There is a lot to talk about from the show yesterday. There is a lot to talk about in terms of show announcements and match announcements and graphic after graphic after graphic dropping, and me saying to RevPro, hey, are you trying to bankrupt me here? And someone coming back to me and going, oh, tickets are competitively priced. I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, they are. But you've just dropped four fucking shows on me.
It's not the price tickets, Andy. It's more the fact that you're tempting me into going to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is it, right? It's a sign of a great company when you've got all of that going on. But yeah, it's I'm just thankful for the fact that I had a Christmas bonus from work and I had only spent about half of it and gone, what do I spend the other half on? And then when there was like hints that tickets were coming for something or some announcements are coming. So I purposely did not spend any more of that bonus thinking, some of this will go towards RevPro, and I've costed it all out, and all of it is going on RevPro. And
the fact that they didn't run any shows in January, if the consequence of that is the fact that we are able to get what we are currently experiencing for the whole year, take January off every year for all I care. Because you think right now we've got 3 or 4 matches announced for this Sunday already.
Yep.
We now have a match for the next show in Coventry already.
Yes, we do.
We've got the following show, half of that card already announced for the Wolverhampton debut at the Hangar.
Mm-hmm.
You've then got high stakes, 4 weeks later, with the really big promise. We don't know what the match is, but we know that we're getting the Mercedes Moné match. We've got the 2-night anniversary, the Revolution Rumble, the J Cup, and it suddenly just feels like so exciting. And I love the idea that it's, the days of only finding out some of the matches the day before the show feel a little bit further in the memory now.
Yeah, they do.
And it's lovely because, I understand the difficulties with, you don't want to give matches away by making announcements. You think, for example, did they foreshadow everything involving Manders and OKU yesterday by announcing OKU versus his tag team partner Thomas Shire next week in London? Maybe they did. When I first saw that, my first thought was, interesting. What's going to happen between him and Manders then that's going to prompt this? Didn't necessarily think it would be exactly what happened, but those thoughts come in. So I get that you don't want to do that too much. But when you've got matches where you can just be like, Hechicero versus Isaiah doesn't need anything, so throw it out there now.
Yeah.
When you can do that, amazing. When you've got really logical things like Young Guns are going to wrestle Jay Joshua and Connor Mills in Wolverhampton on the second week of March. So the first week of March, we're going to get Mills versus Jacobs. Perfect.
Yeah.
That doesn't ruin anything that's going to happen this Sunday in London. That makes perfect sense why that's happening. But I bet there were people today that saw that and who were going to Coventry and got excited. And I know for a fact that there are people that have bought tickets especially because of that match, because I had one of them sending me a message saying, mate, if I drive to your house, will you drive me to the Coventry show? Because I really want to watch Jacob versus Mills. I'm like, yes, mate, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you weren't going to go to the show in London this weekend, right? You were going to take the weekend off, and then they announced the Zoe Lucas, Amira, and Danny Luna match.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so there was 2 shows I wasn't going to, and it was that one and Epic Encounters. And part of it is from a money perspective. Part of it is I don't want to take another day off work perspective for after Epic Encounter. And then there is the element of I had gig tickets booked for both of those nights as well. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to see these gigs instead. And then they announced that match for London. I'm like, oh, that looks good. And it's also as well the fact that you don't get to see Danny Luna over here very often now. Right, so you've got to take these opportunities where you can get them. So you've got like exciting things with these women who are returning, or feels like, even though it's not a debut, that Amira match felt like a debut. It was a reinvention of a debut, maybe.
Yeah.
And then Danny, like I said, she's not here very often. That's not to undercut the Cutthroat Collective, who, let's be honest, like, it's 3 really fucking great women on the other side as well. So like, you've got that. So I'm not saying that, but that whole thing is like, yes, okay, cool. There is so much going on in RevPro right now. Like, it is unbelievable. When I prep for this pod, I normally have 1 tab open, right? Other than the stuff I need to run this actual stream and that I'm recording, 1 tab open. And that is what the card was from the last show, to make sure we've got everything covered. I've currently got 6 tabs open, all RevPro related. That is how much is going on out there now, right? So I made the mistake last week of, British J Cup's announced. I'm getting myself a ticket for that. Booked myself a lovely little front row spot. Perfect. Then it was very evident that more was coming. Okay, more. And look, I sound like this is a bad thing. It's not. It was a great thing. Please don't do it every year. That I need money to be able to do this. And yeah, it was like, and the more that was coming, I was like, I know what's coming at the end of this. Mercedes is coming at the end of this. And I just had this feeling. I was like, they're not gonna start announcing this train of announcements, and then not have. It
started with a 229 match, right?
Yes.
The very first announcement was a 229 match, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger with each one. I think it went from 229 to an Epic Encounter match. Then it went to the J Cup being announced, and then it just built and built and built. So the anniversary shows and Mercedes were like the main events.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look now. Actually, yeah, because that was when I saw all that coming. It's like, so Mercedes was announced at. I'm just gonna see if I can find it, because like to kind of put. Yeah, so that was announced February the 19th. It doesn't have the actual time on here. I was hoping it would have the time, but yeah, like you said, you've got all within the space of each other. So you had, right, here we are, right, February the 19th. So you had, in the morning, it was Mills and Joshua versus the Contenders were announced. Then there was, and looking at other big news, more t-shirts were put on sale as well, which I know people have been buying those up. And then the message, despite the fact that we have the best value sale of pro wrestling going on right now, our main business is, believe it or not, operating professional wrestling events. As such, we have a lot of news coming throughout the day. Then the tag match got announced for Epic Encounter. Then the J Cup. Then Sunshine Machine versus Mills and Joshua for this Sunday. Then more designs get added on. Then the Rumble. Then, and then if that wasn't enough, still a couple more announcements to go. And it's like, bloody hell. And then, then the anniversary show came out. And then Mercedes. And if that wasn't enough, the following day, they announced that bloody 6-woman tag match for London as well. And then since then, they've done a bloody Q&A. And then after that, they've thrown out, what are they thrown out there? So Thomas Shire versus Michael Oku, which I had some thoughts on that, like you did. I was in 2 minds when it first came out. I was like, is this a deliberate playing into the story? Is this a deliberate curveball where it gets Manders' partner tuned up to help him out against the Slaters. That was my other thought at first. Then dropping out what I can already see is going to be a contender for potentially match of the year, especially in London, Kanji and Sapphire Reed. That is going to be incredible. And then all on the same day, Caven, Robbie X versus Stephen Wolf gets announced for Epic Encounter. And then I was like, FOMO, Hechicero and Zazaya is getting into my bloodstream. I'm like, I can't miss that. Book myself a ticket. And they announced by DEONNA, PURRAZZO and Kanji. Mate, I've never been tagged in so many. I don't know whether or not I need to reevaluate my life, okay? Because obviously I'm a big supporter of DEONNA, PURRAZZO. I think she's incredible, one of the best technical-based wrestlers in the world, regardless of gender. And I think Kanji is up there as well, like just such an incredible wrestler. So to get that match announced, and I think I posted this yesterday, like every single match that has been announced, I think has been announced for me. Because like it is so far for me the perfect card. Like everything I could possibly want is on there. It has been an incredible week.
I'll tell you what, like just put some comparison on it. Epic Encounter last year, the main event wasn't announced until like 5 or 6 days before the show.
Yeah.
Because it was Zazaya versus Michael Oku, and it was on the back of Zazaya beating him in Spain.
Of course it was, yeah.
And you think, like, you take that match away from the card, the kind of the big Epic Encounter kind of like money match, if you want, was Kushida.
Yes, that was it, yeah.
So, no. Am I getting my shows muddled up?
No, I thought Epic Encounter was Robbie X versus Kushida.
Or was that Raw Deal? Because was Epic Encounter not Yoshiaka versus Cameron Kai? Or were they both on the same show?
I thought they were both the same show, and I know that because I know that
yes, they must be
because I was at
Jordan Breaks in Sheffield the next day, didn't he?
Yeah, because I was at Raw Deal and I hadn't seen any of those guys. So looking at Epic Encounter,
no. Like there's some cool matches there, but I don't think like Kushida is a big name, of course he is. But I'm not sure if anybody else that was on the card had the name value of a Hechicero or a DEONNA, PURRAZZO.
No.
And then we had Kushida, but here we've got PURRAZZO and Hechicero. We've got Zazaya, who now feels like it's going to be an absolute treat because we've not seen him for 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's going to be special. You've got the Tag Championships match, where it feels like there's a real genuine possibility that those tag titles could change hands. Like,
it does.
I'm not sure if they will. I'm not sure if they won't. But I think it's a flip of a coin.
So do I.
don't think,
I'm the same
you're
as you on
talking
that.
about, in my eyes, the biggest tag match that they could put on in the champions versus the Young Guns. I don't think there is a bigger tag team in Britain than the Young Guns.
No.
That haven't fought Mills and Joshua. Sunshine Machine are the the staple British tag team. Like everybody loves them. They are an absolute kind of pillar of Rev Pro. But it's not going to be them because they've just lost the belts. They're getting their rematch or a rematch this Sunday. But Young Guns feel like every time a champion's crowned, and you think about, okay, no matter how long these guys have the belt for, who will they pass it on to?
Yeah.
Like, who's the biggest team in Britain that hasn't been champions yet? It's Young Guns, isn't it? Like, you'd say Young Guns, and then like a level below that would be like CPF.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not because Young Guns, or I'm not comparing the quality of wrestlers, but I'm talking about like Rev Pro
We
Canon.
talk about and stature of where they are on the card, right?
Young
Yeah.
Guns are a level above because it's Luke Jacobs, former undisputed British heavyweight champion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And although
Absolutely.
CPF won the trios tournament as a tag team, they've only ever won 1 or 2 matches. They had their big breakout win last year. So that's as big a match as you could ask for. Stephen Wolf, Robbie X, and Will Caven is like as big a cruiserweight clash that you could have without just being like, oh, we're going to Caven versus name an AEW wrestler or a New Japan wrestler. In terms of the British wrestling scene right now, which I'd include Stephen Wolf as, because it seems like he is here for a fairly decent amount of time, especially given that he is now taking sessions at the Portsmouth School of Wrestling every Thursday night. So you feel like that's not like just a one-off seminar with him.
No.
That is a weekly course you can do, like a weekly session you can do. So it feels like we've got him not just for the next couple of weeks, but for the foreseeable future as well. And, that's only half the card. Yeah. So it very much feels like we're going to get RKJ versus JJ Gal from yesterday. Yeah. But, that's a what a match to like open a show, which it potentially could, because you've got high stakes matches later on in the show. That could be your first match. That could be your fourth match before the interval, couldn't it? Like, I feel Epic Encounter feels suitably epic, especially when you factor in the fact that it's Wolverhampton hangar with the tickets costing 20 quid a pop.
Yeah.
It's not your call where the tickets are costing 60 quid a go.
No, this feels like a real statement of intent for coming into a new market. I said to you when I saw the hangar, I was like, that's a big venue. Like, compare it for the sorts of companies that run there. Like, that was a big venue. I've been in there and saw John Moxley in there in a packed venue where I was squeezing through people to get to merchandise stands. Like, that's how tight it was. And I was like, that's a big room to do. And I thought that really did show some balls from Rev Pro to go with that. Now, do I think they have it on the same scale? No, I don't. They could do that. They could build up to that. But what they're doing with this card is they're going, this is cheap for the level of card they're putting on, right? I said to you when the tickets came out, I was like, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure the level is going to be there. And then the sort of matches that were getting announced, I was like, oh, okay. Like, and then obviously then you see some of the names that are coming in, Hechicero and stuff like that. I'm like, this is looking good. Like, there's just something about it. Like I said, there's all these, as you would say, epic encounters, right? They are not holding back. And I hadn't even considered what else is going to be announced, because to me, the card is done, right? And that sounds stupid saying that, but like, there was just these great matches.
Sold on it, right?
Yeah, I'm just completely sold on it. Like, I was kind of like, oh, and I'm like, okay, cool. There's gonna be other matches there, and I couldn't tell you the last time.
How many we got?
We got 4.
Manders Oku.
Yeah.
PURRAZZO Kanji.
Yeah.
Cruiserweight trio.
5. We got 5. Yeah.
The tag match. Zazaya Hechicero.
Yeah. We got 5.
So presumably RKJ versus JJ Gal.
Yeah. And at that point,
2 more.
Yeah, at that point we're missing. You've got to think Leon Slater has got to be in a match of some sort, and probably
he is the hottest thing in Rev Pro right now for me.
And a second women's match.
And there's a lot that's being. There's a lot of things that are being played around with between Alex Windsor and Zoe Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that sounds so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really, that is, yeah. It's for the level of card.
Story driven, right?
Yeah, everything makes sense.
Like Hechicero versus Azai, fair play. That's literally a flex, isn't it? That's Andy being like, here you go. Here's an absolute banger to give you an idea of what we're talking about with this show.
Yeah.
But then everything else has been built really nicely over London, Southampton, Sheffield. And you can see how they're going to continue to build it between now and then.
Even Kanji and DEONNA PURRAZZO, because they've been telling you this story of someone comes into Rev Pro from abroad. We've had it with Stephanie Vicaire. We've had it with Azumi. We've had it with Serena Deeb. I kept wanting to say Mercedes Monet, but that's because I think that's where we're going with it. Or it feels like that journey, that's what we're on.
100, like, I can't say 100% because I don't know. But 95% for me, it's either Mercedes versus Kanji, or it's Mercedes versus Kanji versus Windsor.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when we're considering and we've got all these events lined up, someone said to me, they were like, I don't think it's any. So we're kind of talking about how many matches we think Mercedes has got in Rev Pro, right? So we're kind of looking at it in the sense of she will come into Rev Pro and defend, and she will lose the title in Rev Pro. You hope, okay? Things can change, schedules can change, but to me, it certainly feels like you've got your two night anniversary. So one night feels like Mercedes Windsor. First night could feel like that. That's where I think we're going there. And then how many other ones do you have? Now, someone said to me, well, they've clearly announced like all these other shows all at the same time. So does that mean that Mercedes, like in terms of the Rumble being somewhere? I don't know if I think that's the case.
I don't think Mercedes works for Rumble.
No, neither do I. I think
Mercedes, I think by her stature, she has to be the main event.
Yeah, so do I.
But the Rumble, from practicality, has to be the main event.
Yeah, so I think if Mercedes does the 2 dates that I think she does, I think it has to be Kanji and Windsor, unless, like you said, it's a triple threat, which I don't know if I don't know if I like that as much.
Where you get all of your cake and get to eat it. Epic, high stakes. Mercedes versus Kanji versus Windsor. Mercedes retains. We've then got 4 months. It's a lot of shows to keep one story tickling over, but Windsor versus Kanji effectively feuding and renewing all of their rivalry pretty much all summer. So that on night 1 of the anniversary, we get Mercedes versus Windsor. And on night 2, the winner of that match versus Kanji. So then you get 3 matches out of Mercedes, with her only being in the UK for 2 weekends. One we already know she's here for, and the other weekend she'll be here for Forbidden Door.
So are you saying then you have the Mercedes versus Windsor or Kanji night 1, and then Mercedes retains that night going into night 2? Because so that would be interesting.
What I can kind of envisage is a triple threat with Windsor and Kanji, where Mercedes kind of like escapes with the win, in the sense that everyone is gonna. I think everybody would want Kanji to win that match.
Yeah,
you obviously get your Mercedes fans who don't know much about Kanji or Windsor, who are there just to watch Mercedes. So I'm not saying she's going to be working heel.
No, of course, but she's going to have that somewhere.
Windsor can be the heel, Kanji can be the babyface, and Mercedes can just be the the A-lister in between, where she gets to do a little bit of all of it, and she can literally be whatever the fans want her to be.
Yeah.
And then at the anniversary show, they can decide, are we putting the belt on Kanji or Windsor? And on the first night, have Mercedes beat the other one, and on the second night, have Mercedes lose. And for me, it would have to be she beats Windsor and loses to Kanji.
Yeah, that'd be
the rise of Kanji has been a stop-start journey, but it's been going as long as I've been going to Rev Pro. Kanji was on a rise in Rev Pro when I first started going. And then, she just was so unlucky with 2 pretty significant injuries. And now it feels like they're really putting all their momentum behind her again. Like you say, wrestling Stephanie Vacour, wrestling Azumi, wrestling Serena Deeb, and wrestling DEONNA PURRAZZO, all within the space of 1 calendar year. That is,
I mean,
one else, no other European women's wrestler has been given that level of opponent.
Yeah.
In any other company, and nobody in Rev Pro. It feels like she has the trust and all the momentum needed to dethrone Mercedes.
Yeah.
And it's also worth noting, Mina Shirakawa was never meant to win the Undisputed British Women's Championship, right? She was never even meant to be wrestling the anniversary show because it was meant to be Stephanie Vaquer. We know that. That's not, a little secret that we know from behind the curtain. That's very public knowledge.
Yeah.
Stephanie was announced for the show. She got signed to WWE, so they had to find a replacement. Mina Shirakawa was a very late announcement. Very much the case of it was not because Andy was holding it back, but because he was quite public and open about it in the Q&As of they're trying to find a talent that actually can deliver what they had promised. So then when she won the belt, everybody was shocked. And then she retained the belt. Everyone was like, okay, well, it's a one and done. She'll literally come back for one more show and just pass it on. Thank you very much. But they didn't. They adapted the plans.
Yeah.
And there's no part of me that is against the thought of Andy looking at it as, well, actually, we're going to keep the belt on Mercedes for as long as it takes for us to have the right time and the right place and the right opponent. And if we only get, the odd match here and the odd match there, it's not the end of the world.
And it makes sense, right? Like, if I know that people have spoken a lot about, we want you champion, and I've been critical of it at times with certain levels of champion, right? We've had belts that have been missing for a long time, but this is one that it makes sense. Like you said, you adapt the plans and you keep this going to the right moment. And if you do have your champion go, like, just not able to be here in those 4 months, but your champion is Mercedes Moné.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm not being funny. The belt's not missing. It's on national TV every week.
Yeah, exactly.
In this country and in America. It's not like, no disrespect intended, it's not like when Grizzled Young Vets had the belts. Because for whatever happened there, they just disappeared.
Yeah, that's why
they weren't on anyone's telly. They weren't wrestling for any company. I'm assuming there was an injury or there were issues, whatever. And it's no disrespect intended to anybody.
Of course,
but that's where belts just disappeared. This isn't that. The belts are there. You might choose not to watch AEW every week. That's fine. Each to their own. But they are on TV. They are there. They're talked about every week. She's holding them up every week.
Yeah.
And when she does, it's not like the women's division is just on hold. I remember being a WWE fan when Brock Lesnar had the title for what felt like forever, the old big red Universal belt.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt like Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler were keeping Monday Night Raw afloat every week, wrestling 30-minute matches, because that was as high as it could get because there was no champion. So they were the top of the card. That's not this, because you've got stories being told with the other women's wrestlers.
Yeah.
And, Rev Pro tells these very long, drawn-out stories. That's the style.
Yeah.
You're looking at rivalries that span years. You're not talking about a feud that lasts for a month and then move on to the new thing. Forget about
Yeah.
that. We've got something new to look at. So I very much trust in the process, mate. I really do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a Rev Pro mark by choice. That's the thing that I think people always have to understand. Like, yes, I'm constantly positive about it, but that's because I genuinely am positive about it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, and
If
I
we were
think
talking about Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, I'd also generally be positive about it.
how can
And
you
if
be
we were
positive about
talking about,
SmackDown? Oh my
say again,
god. How can you be positive about SmackDown? I'll give you
I
Raw.
enjoyed it. I
Oh my
enjoyed it.
god, that was
Like, obviously there are things where it's like, oh, that went on a bit long, or that match was a bit meh. But
yeah.
if
Fair enough.
you look at a 3-hour wrestling show, so here we could be talking about Friday Night SmackDown, or we could be talking about Rev Pro Live in Sheffield.
Yeah.
A 3-hour wrestling show, if I enjoyed 75% of it, I've enjoyed 3/4 of the show. I've enjoyed almost all of it. I've enjoyed most of it. Like,
Yeah, I get
happy
that.
days.
Yeah.
And the
No, I
thing
get you.
about Rev Pro is it's genuinely the wrestling company in the world that I enjoy the most consistently, and I get the most enjoyment from.
Same. I agree with you on that. That's exactly where I am. And I think it's interesting because I'm like you, like I can be critical about things in wrestling, but I'm critical to a level that I feel is fair. And I'm not going to be that guy who tries to shit on things. But I also think as well, there's a level of earned trust that if something doesn't make sense to me while we're going a certain way, like you said, trust in the process. We say that a lot about RevPro, but I genuinely think that they do so much good in that you go, no, I am going to trust in this process because I've not been let down before because they just keep reaching new and new heights for me to go, okay, yeah, I'm happy with this journey. And yeah, so that's for me where that comes from. I think it's much more fun and exciting to be positive about the possibilities rather than just get really hyper focused on what isn't exactly what I want. And again, because I've just sat there and said to you, a 4-5 match card. I mean, to be fair, at the time it was 4-match card. 4-match card, done. But I don't need anything else. I'm getting value for money out of that, right? That shows
Mate,
kind of the level of what I'm on.
If we made a podcast each week about the finest of details and the nitty gritty and finding the negatives in it, I'd be the most miserable bastard in the world, mate.
There's a reason.
I want to be talking about the positives.
Yeah.
And that's, and
yeah.
we can transition really smoothly here into the Sheffield show yesterday because you talk about trust in the process. The main event yesterday is Michael Oku and one called Manders versus Leon Slater and Liam Slater. What a perfect bit of booking, because you're going into this match knowing that eventually we are going to get Manders versus Oku, and eventually we're going to get Leon Slater versus Oku. They are both clearly on the table.
Yeah.
Rev Pro have shown us it. They showed us in the Leon Slater versus Michael Oku at the Revolution tag in Southampton at the end of last year, where they had their moment, looking at each other in the ring, and suddenly everyone's standing there watching it. Everyone's having the same thought at the same time. We've never seen this. I want to see this. Now, technically, we saw it once, but it was a very different Leon Slater. It was right at the start of his journey.
Yeah, 100%.
And it wasn't meaningful in the sense that it was a Rev Pro, it was your standard Rev Pro match. It wasn't for a belt. It wasn't the main event. It wasn't a, 20, 25-minute epic.
No.
That's what we're going to get.
Of course we are, yeah.
It's just when are we going to get it?
Yeah, and that's what I found really interesting, yeah.
And that's it, right? So you're going into a match thinking one of two things is happening here. I just don't know which one it's going to be yet.
Yeah,
And then you've also got, like, coming out of it, if there are people, I saw a couple of comments of people being like, showing disappointment that it's going to be Oku versus Manders at Epic Encounter. I think that maybe they wanted Oku versus Slater. But it's like, just be patient. We're going to get both.
Yeah.
Because if we're not getting, you think about it, we've got High Stakes, Revolution Rumble, British J-Cup, and the 2 nights of the anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
They're your big shows between now and the next 6 months, right?
Yeah.
5 big shows, 5 big title matches. So if Oku is to retain all the way, if he is, you're going to get Oku versus Manders, Oku versus RKJ, Oku versus Leon Slater, and 2 more.
Yeah.
And we'll find out who those 2 are across the next 6 months.
Yeah.
If Manders beats Oku, we then have all the stuff that they've teased with Oku, with Manders. We'll get a Manders versus Slater match for the title. We'll probably get Manders versus Jacobs for the title. If RKJ wins, you've got all the stuff between RKJ, all the history of RKJ and Jacobs, the history of RKJ and JJ Gal, which they're leaning into again.
Mm-hmm.
If Slater wins, you've got all these other possibilities that you can then pursue. Like, we will get all of it. It's just in what order are we going to get them? And realistically, Epic Encounter isn't as big a show as High Stakes. I wouldn't say so. In the sense, I mean, just look at the ticket prices. That tells you quite a lot. And also, I mean, Manders versus Oku is going to be fucking awesome. I'm going to put my neck out on that right now. That is
such a hot take there, Dave.
Since I first saw him.
Yeah.
Because Oku is so good at being the guy that gets the crap kicked out of him.
Yes.
Yet still finds a way to win. He is like, I don't know which comparison to use that's the least insulting. He's the Bolton Wanderers of like 2007, 2008 under Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
When they were just so bloody hard to beat.
Doesn't know when he's beat him. Yeah.
The Stoke City under Tony Pulis, who just
that is incredible.
Everyone was scared to fight because they, you know, I mean, he's a lot more slick and fashionable than Tony Pulis' Stoke team. But do you know what I mean? Like, even if you say he's Mourinho's Chelsea, you're just talking about teams which are incredibly hard to beat because they can just let you come at them and absorb your offense and then strike back.
Yeah. Yeah.
The character work's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be amazing. And let's not forget, when Hechicero versus Isaiah got announced, everybody thought that was going to be the main event. And everybody thought that's like, oh, I'm buying tickets for that main event's going to be sick. And it's like, well, actually, it probably won't be the main event because the championship will main event, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So this is the uprising. You were most excited about Leon Slater versus Isaiah. I was most excited about Jacobs versus Oku. Either way, we both won because we got both matches.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Now, I'm with you on that it's very obvious to me that we're going to get both those matches. And so we're coming to this, right? There's a level of me being the fan who just wants to let the story take me where we think we're going. There's a level of me just loving, like, trying to piece things together, right? The puzzle side of me that goes, are we getting this? Are we getting that? Are we going this way? So I called 2 scenarios that I thought could happen. And I thought we were getting to Oku versus Manders. That seemed to make sense. And I felt like Southampton was to throw us off the trail a little bit, right? So Southampton was to give us that breadcrumb that nice guy Manders has a bit in him, right? Now, we all knew it. But after the match, Manders snapped a little bit, right? He let the mask slip a little bit. So it's like, oh, okay. And then we saw the announcement of Thomas Shires for the 229 against Michael Oku. I was like, huh, okay. So my thoughts were, we're going to get this match where OKU is going to go up against Manders, because Manders is going to turn on him after the match, right? And that's what we got, right? It was predictable in some ways. To some people, it wouldn't have been, but it was predictable in some ways. But it wasn't any less satisfying because of that, right? You were like, yes, like we're getting to where we want to be now, right? We're seeing this more sort of like, again, we know that Manders has got this in him, right? He's got this fight in him. He's got this attitude in him. He's lovely, laid back, but now he's focused on that belt, right? It doesn't matter who he's got to get through. He can get through Oku. My other thought was, well, maybe they're kind of...
I love how it works perfectly for his the blurring of the lines between his character and what we know about real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oku's basically said, isn't he? He's everyone who's called him out is going to get their match. He's going to take them out one by one.
Yeah.
Well, Manders can't wait till last. He's got to go back to America.
Yeah.
So he better bloody go first, doesn't he?
Exactly. And my other thought was as well, like, do we somehow get to a Leon and Liam versus Thomas Shires and Manders? Like, do we do that match? And then Michael Oku gets JJ Gale or RK. Like, there was all these different moving parts I found great. I thought the main event was great. I thought, like, you've got these guys who all have great chemistry with each other. And then you throw in...
Slater and Leon Slater's chemistry was insane. Like,
yeah. Considering...
You know it's going to be really good.
It's only their second... it was only their second cage match added tag team match ever. So obviously they know each other so well from training and all that sort of stuff. But it's very different, I imagine, actually getting in the ring on the show night and putting it together in front of a crowd.
Did the live feed pick up on Liam Slater coaching Leon Slater through the match?
Not that I... remember,
literally,
no.
He's putting on submission holds, and as he's doing it, he's like saying to Leon, "What we'll do now, mate, is we'll twist it this way." And it's like he's literally just like showing him how to do the submission hold, like he would do in the PPW.
No, didn't pick up on that as much.
Then he was the constant voice of the team, just constantly telling Leon what to do.
Yeah,
and
I could hear some background. Yeah,
teacher moment. Every time Leon did something brilliant, it'd be like, as if to be like, yes, you're getting it. Like I do in a classroom when one of my kids bloody solves a simultaneous equation. Like,
yeah,
I loved it so much. And the Liam Slater, I think, had the Jay Joshua experience, where his first Rev Pro match was like, I'm getting comfortable. I'm a bit new to this group of people, this company, Andy Quilden.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find my feet, get a bit of me across, impress enough to come back. But the second he's booked for a second time, it's like, cool, I know what I'm doing now. I'm here.
Yeah.
This is me. And I loved Liam Slater the first time enough to say I want him on every Sheffield show. And now I'm like, can't we have him in London this week? There are so many people I want to see him wrestle.
It feels like we said before, that he's the Sheffield one, James Ellis is the Southampton one, who is the London, like, who's gonna be the London one, who's gonna be the Coventry one, who's gonna be those people that are primarily you will see them here. But I think he'd be great in other ones, like him versus Ethan Allen is the one to me.
Oh mate, that's a match, isn't it? That's literally one of the first ones where I was like, at some point I want that.
Him versus Ridgeway, something like that. Yeah. Like those are the matches. I thought it was very good. I found the end of the show really, really interesting. After the Manders stuff, because you obviously had Oku go up onto the stage, and I don't know how much of that you picked up on from being there. And how loud a certain Mr. Francisco was. So
I was aware that like some stuff was happening, but you're probably going to enlighten me here as to what was happening.
Yeah, so, and I mean this in the respectful way, he was being very overbearing the whole night about the results from Southampton, right? So anytime Ref Harv came out, he was giving shit. When you had referee with the favourite name I've ever heard, Sandy Beaches, when she was out, then like it was always kind of praising her for what she's doing, and then there was a bit where I don't know, I don't think it was planned, but something didn't quite go right. And he said, yes, she made a mistake, but she didn't do it on purpose. That's what a good referee does. Like, they can make mistakes. So he was kind of playing this up all night. And then any time, so when RKJ was out, he was giving RKJ basic shit about how he was the champion. Like, I've got no problem with you. I've got no problem with you. And then when Oku, he was saying, give him my belt back. And that was when Oku kind of just snapped. He was like, did you see such and such? And Oku was like, yeah, I fucking did. And like, just then stormed off. And then Amira was like, basically, what the fuck? And I was like, the mask is slipping. It's slipping. And that's what it felt like to me. The mask is slipping further now. Beforehand, it's a little glimpse of it, but he managed to control himself. This time, he's losing that control a bit from that. It really, that really interested me as well. So not only are we getting the match, so Manders and Oku is the match that I really wanted, right? I wanted Manders versus Leon Slater was one match I wanted, right? We'd already had Manders versus Luke. So that was another match that I knew I wanted. Outside of that, the only other match he said, if you can give me one for definite, is Manders versus Oku. Yeah. And we're getting it. So to be fair, the only other one on top of that now, my next level down is Manders versus RKJ, Manders versus Isaiah, Manders versus Connor Mills. They would be my next three matches that I would want.
Manders and Mills is one I really want, because I think Manders can deliver something that will get me close to how I felt when Mills wrestled Trent Seven last year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It needs to be sympathetic babyface Manders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that's for when he's back next time.
And I also think as well that what the simplicity of the Manders sort of character, and that's not meant to be like damning with faint praise, but the simplicity of him being, like you said, sometimes it's the how well he blurs the man with the man in the ring. It doesn't have to take that much of a swing for him to be, like we said, Rev Pro is very good at, unless you're like a Francisco who goes from nice guy Dave to the centerpiece, right? A really dramatic swing. You've got someone right in the middle there, like Manders is in the middle, that can flow. Well, this is who I am, but the title was there. I'm going for that belt. Like, I'm taking my opportunity.
Everything he does is justifiable, right?
Exactly, which is
he didn't cross over any kind of barriers yesterday. He didn't go too far. He didn't like. It would have been so easy for him to call Amira a bitch or shove her out the way, or once he'd clotheslined Oku to pick him up and do more to him, overkill. He did just enough to make sure that Oku gave him the next title match.
Yeah.
Without completely breaking away from the man he has been. Like, full disclosure right now, Manders is got no chance of being villain of the week this week. That wasn't proper villainy. That was it was justifiable villainy. That's what I would call that.
Mm-hmm.
He did what was needed to be done to get his business prioritized.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's earned it. He's not trying to cut. He's just trying to. He was in the queue. He's just trying to skip ahead a little bit because he's in a rush.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
It's interesting because looking at the rest of the card, and this is where I am going to be going to davethemark.com to read the takeaways from this show, especially because there is no one to me that's a clear-cut villain of the week this week. And I find that really fascinating.
I was thinking about it on my drive to work this week, actually, this morning. I was just having a little think of. I like to have all my ducks in a line for a week, so I won't write heroes and villains till Friday, and I'll post it Friday night. I like it to be the final word on the week that was. So, but it was one where I was like, and there's a few different people I could go with for a few different things. But yeah, I'm happy. I've got my decision.
Yeah.
I'll share the bad news on Friday. But
Look forward
one
to it, my
person
friend.
that is definitely going to be in discussion for it. And mate, I feel like we called this. We recently discussed the wonderful booking strategy of having your number one contender or the person who's being pushed into the championship match having a hurdle placed in front of them because they take a loss. We talked about Hangman Page and Brian Cage in AEW a couple of years ago, where Hangman was he was climbing the rankings and he was working his up to being AEW's number one contender. And then he lost to Brian Cage, which put him on a slightly different path so that he could come back at the right time. That is exactly what they just did with RKJ and JJ, right?
Yes. To me, because I wondered with this at first. I was like, my worry going into this was we've seen in the last year we've seen a lot of false dawns as far as Ricky Knight Jr. is concerned. We've seen where we thought, right, this is his time now. He's going to get that bit more focus, and it just for whatever reason just kept falling back a little bit, falling back. So I was worried if JJ picks up the win here. And then actually, the more I've thought about it, I was like, no, I like the story they're telling with it and I actually have a bit more confidence. So that's kind of going into this where I'm like, right, okay, we can now afford to take him away from that world title scene, right? Or the undisputed British heavyweight title, not world title, what am I saying? Take away from that scene and give him like a really, the really meaty story that now JJ's done what he couldn't do before. He's got the win over him.
Yeah. Like when do you want OKU versus RKJ? Do you want it at high stakes? Do you want it at Revolution Rumble? Do you want it at the anniversary show? So it's going to be one of those three, right?
Yeah.
And then it's down to the case of, well, they didn't want it for Epic Encounter, clearly. So if Manders is going to be the one to get the title shot, you need to be able to give a storyline reason as to why it's not Ricky Knight Jr. Because for all the people that are super logical, like I like to think you and I are, we're going to turn around and say, hold on, Manders lost to Leon Slater, so he hasn't lost this year. RKJ hasn't lost yet this year. So that makes more sense for it to be Ricky to be the first in the queue. Leon has now lost a match because he lost the tag match this week. It's kind of, they've very cleverly balanced the win-loss records of everybody so that they're all a bit of a muchness.
Yeah.
So then we can justify, well, that's why Oku called out who he wants. Because, like, well, who's number one contender?
There is no clear cut,
pick, and Champs turned around and said, well, I'm going to take my pick. Or the one who's just fucking put me on my arse. And, like, I really like that. And, oh, my Lord, mate. Again, I'd love to know how it came across on the feed. JJ and Ricky hitting the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Like, they were right in front of me, and I'm standing there like, this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's almost to a point now where it's like, have they kind of worked themselves into a shoot because they've gone too hard in each other, and it's actually now starting to kick off? Because they were hitting each other hard. Like, you know, when it's like Rich literally right in front of you. It was so close that I couldn't even take a photo of it because I wouldn't be able to get any. I'd literally have a photo of like Ricky's face. It was intense and it was so real. And I loved little things like, bless him, Jordan Saeed getting absolutely walloped with a chair. Ricky threw the chair at JJ so bloody hard. Like, Oh, mate, it just has made me. In fact, are we going to get Ricky versus JJ in some kind of street fight?
That would make a lot of sense. So for me, right? So
that hadn't even occurred to me until just now.
No. So what's really interesting to me? It's big, mate. They could.
Is it big enough for them to go brawling around the whole place and make some kind of absolute 100%, mate.
Yeah. So when I was in the hangar, I know that there was at least 6 rows of seats, right? And it was probably more than this from where the ring was in the middle. And whether or not there was just a bunch of standing people, I was literally like having to squeeze past, like we are, when we're in Southampton, we have to squeeze people to the merchandise.
Yeah.
It was that close. That's how close it was getting in and out. So that could happen there. What I find really interesting about this is one of the things I always feel with Ricky Knight Jr., and I mean this in a really good way, I always feel a bit uneasy around Ricky Knight Jr., right? And I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but that's how I feel. He brings a level of intensity to what he does. I don't know. Not many wrestlers get that from me.
He can be intense to just have a conversation with.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you kind of got like that kind of feeling around whenever he's having a match. And for me, JJ Gale is the complete opposite of that. JJ never feels like, and I don't mean that as a slight either, but just like he does what he does, but he never has that feel of like intensity around it.
But also most relaxed and laid back guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even Andy has publicly negged him before, isn't he, for like being too laid back and not having that kind of motivation, or like he's like last one to arrive, or a couple of times Andy's made little jokes at his expense.
Yeah,
but I quite like that because Ricky's drawn it out of him.
That's it. Now coming across on the feed, this felt intense, and there was little bits I was like, I'm sure this is all part of the plan, but they're both playing up really, really well. And it was, for me, again, it was the stuff after the match, like when they were being separated and stuff like that. That just felt real without it necessarily being real. And I love that, right? Like,
it was probably right at the end when they brawled around the curtains backstage.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, okay, cool. That was very conveniently done.
Yeah.
But right up until that, I'm sort of like, is Ricky actually swinging for it now?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They pushed each other's buttons too hard, but class.
Yeah.
Bit of a bad night all round for poor Jordan Said, wasn't it?
Oh, mate. Look, there's not much to add to a match that went just under 3 minutes on Cage Match.
I was going to ask you how long it was.
Yeah, just under 3 minutes. I summed this one up on Twitter.
I loved it though.
I thought it told a really great story, right? Talk about using your time effectively, right?
Yeah.
That's what this was. This was a perfectly, this felt like it went on 6-7 minutes because of how well and what they managed to pack into this. They managed to pack into basically getting a fucking ass kicking, but also having Mills and Joshua play with their food a little bit to then finish them off afterwards. I
love the fact that Jay Joshua was just angry all night.
So I think I described this as...
And it so fucking should be, because last week in Southampton, or 2 weeks ago in Southampton, they bloody spiked a chair into his throat.
Yeah, he was...
And I love that because he's taken all of that intensity and just wrapped it up into this entire show.
Yeah, the way they took a beating, the lads did a really amazing job there. I summed it up as Dynamite Lee Dawson was a vessel for punishment and violence, captained by the ire that Jay Joshua has for Young Guns. It just felt like this absolute... They were the proxy for Ethan Allen.
Yeah, that's exactly the word I had in my head. Yeah. It was a proper proxy war, wasn't it?
Yeah, It doesn't matter. You are Ethan Allen.
Fight Ethan Allen right now. You look a bit like him. I'll smash you up instead.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think they told.
You'll do.
And then kind of let's quickly go into Stephen Wolf versus Ethan Allen then. And we'll just do light touch on that. But I thought it was a really great match. Really highlighted Stephen Wolf really well. I was surprised by the clean win.
Yeah, me too.
I was very surprised by that. But
I was expecting Jay Joshua to cost Ethan Allen.
Same. That's exactly what I was expecting there. And then I thought it was really great that, like, I was like, all right, the match is done. Out comes Jay Joshua. No, then comes Robbie X. And then comes Caven. And then after all of that's happened, then Jay Joshua comes. And it worked really well.
I loved the interaction between Jay Joshua and Stephen Wolf on the stage, where it was just like, ooh. You'll be
go on. You go do what you need to do. But is that then
a good use of what must have been 2 minutes from the end of the Stephen Wolf match to the ring being cleared, ready for the next match?
Yes,
such a good use of everybody, like, and also like
100%.
I don't know. My British geography isn't great, and I also have an unrealistic expectation for how far people will travel, because I'm not adverse to getting in the car for 3 hours to drive to a Rev Pro show, right? Because I'm a mob. But I wonder what the crossover between a Sheffield and potentially Wolverhampton crowd is. Would some of those people from Sheffield get in the car and go down to Wolverhampton for a show? I know that you can get there by train, but you get the train to Birmingham, and then you get a train from Birmingham across to Wolverhampton. I don't know what that's like. But
2-hour drive.
If they were trying to advertise yesterday that Wolverhampton show without actually having Francesca stand there and say, "Don't forget, we're in Wolverhampton on this date, get your tickets." They showed everybody why you should want to go to that show.
You can kind of look at it here, right, where you've got... So I'm looking at a map, and I've got Coventry and Wolverhampton, just aside from each other. You then got Wolverhampton up to Manchester, which is about 2 hours. Wolverhampton, Sheffield, then Sheffield across to Manchester, probably an hour. So you've got 4 in that localish... I say localish. I know some people go, well, 2 hours isn't local, and hey, look, we've had that conversation about some people from Doncaster, some people from Manchester. No, Doncaster's too far away. Like, you kind of got to, you do have to put a bit of travelling. Right?
It's relative to you and your personal situation. For some people, 2 hours is too far away because travel costs money, travel takes up time. Some people don't have the money, some people don't have the time. Like, I get that. I completely understand. Like, each to your own. But it does feel of mapping out the country and Rev Pro trying to pick up new audiences, I'd imagine they look at a destination and think, okay, so we can hopefully get people in that city and a radius of X number of miles or X number of minutes or hours.
Exactly. You're giving options, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel that it definitely feels like they're trying to build some bits up in that area, get these things going on. The usage again of that time.
Stephen Wolf versus Ethan Allen was my favourite Stephen Wolf match so far.
I think I'd probably agree with you on that.
I feel like he's slotted in so effortlessly. It kind of feels like he's always been there.
You know what? I feel really bad for Stephen Wolf, right? I feel that because of just how well Manders is fitted in, we kind of overlook the fact that Stephen Wolf has done exactly the same. He's just done it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Manders is a much bigger character.
Personality,
I don't mean wrestling character. I mean as a person.
Yeah.
There's probably a little bit of that. I think maybe Wolf is just waiting. I'm just maybe waiting for the match where it hits the very top gear.
Yeah.
That he can go to. But I also feel like that's not a criticism, because so far he hasn't I mean, you could say that, like every time you get in the ring, it should be you are 100% your absolute best. But actually, that's not how a pro wrestling show works, right?
No,
You're meant to
exactly.
have peaks at certain points. It's why people get more time. It's why they get the prominent slots on the card. I'm waiting for sort of like the quintessential Stephen Wolf match.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think as well, one of the things that people have got to take into consideration is that it also depends. It's relative to the style of promotion you run and the style that's in the ring. Rev Pro is a very physical company. You cannot expect Stephen Wolf to go out there every week, every 2 weeks, and put on the top level. The same with any wrestler, like the top level match every single time, because of the wear and tear that it's going to have, especially on a guy who runs more of a cruiserweight style, who is a babyface, and therefore is probably going to bump more as well. There's all those sorts of things. So just from a practicality, so holding back a little bit. And all I'll say is if this is Stephen Wolf, even at 60, 70, 80% of what's in there, man, am I fucking excited for that.
And you think like his matches so far, so his match with Robbie X, Stephen Wolf and Robbie X could have an absolute barn burner of a match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But their match wasn't meant to be that.
No.
Because it was meant to be a little bit of heelish shithousery from Robbie X to set up their future triple threat match.
Yeah.
I wasn't there live for his match with Leon Slater last year, so I do think that was a higher level.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, it's Leon Slater. Like, I reckon I could have a half decent match with Leon Slater, but just I'll just sit in the corner and he can just do everything else.
Yeah. Was Leon the Sheffield match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
the one that stood out to me.
Sheffield show last year.
Yeah.
It's the one regional one I didn't get to last year.
Yeah.
Shit got in the way. It was my wife's granddad's funeral the next day. I was on parenting duty while she was on the funeral setup. And I feel like what I would love, I'd love to see just how far Stephen Wolf could go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be it would need to be a match that he wins, and a match where it's given the time and an opponent that is equally as exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see Stephen Wolf versus Leon Cage.
Yeah, same.
That's one that I feel like, whilst he's here, would be a great one for us to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, whilst we're talking about the whole cruiserweight side of it, Nino Bryan versus Robbie X was fantastic yesterday. Nino Bryan has this way, and I find I'm always baffled. At 38 years old, watched a lot of wrestling in my life, and watched a lot of wrestling in the last couple of years, very close up. Nino Bryan does stuff I've never seen anyone do before.
Yeah, he does.
So much of it as well. Or he does stuff, sometimes he does stuff that I have seen before, but he makes it look different to anyone I've seen do it before.
He feels very unique.
His in-ring is so good. And it's like when he has the confidence and the personality side of it, the character side of it, when he has that with the in-ring that he's got, he's a very special lad.
Yeah,
he is someone who, if he can add that to it, I'm very excited for. Watching him and Robbie X, though, made me open my mind to a possibility. I love Will Caven, Cruiserweight Champion. but I am ready for when it hopefully happens. Maybe it's next month, maybe it's 6 months. Robbie X, dickhead Cruiserweight Champion.
Yeah.
that's what a possibility that is, because you think Robbie X as your champion gives you the possibility to have absolute show-stealing matches on every card. He is a level of talent that you can bring people from all over the world into Rev Pro and have them work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say Speedball Mike Bailey's a great example because he's in the news. Looks like he's signing with AEW. You've got your Speedball top on. Love Speedball. If Speedball comes over to Rev Pro to work a show, you've got to put a certain caliber of talent in the ring with him.
Yeah, of course.
You can't put him in the ring with someone who is not anywhere near his level. They might be a good level, but he is a level above.
Yeah.
But you can put him in the ring with Robbie X. You know, look at all the people we've seen wrestle Robbie X. You know, I think I'm about to hit my 50th Robbie X match, and I've seen a who's who of pro wrestling around the world wrestle him.
Mm-hmm.
But all those big name matches were face Robbie X versus more often than not face international talent.
Yeah.
I really now want dickhead Robbie X versus the world.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And I think with the cruiserweight title, it would elevate the championship back to when it used to regularly headline Rev Pro shows.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that completely. I thought the match was really, really good. The only thing for me watching it in the moment was I felt it went on a little bit too long. And if that's just a me thing. I just felt like it could have been wrapped up a couple of minutes earlier.
But we had a very similar a couple of weeks ago where I felt the Young Guns and Barcelona Blacklist went on that little bit too long. And you were like, no, I thought it was pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
Completely understand that.
It's like the minor things. In terms of the championship, so here's the other thing that we need to consider. We need to consider that obviously they're building Caven up. I'm with you. I think the title needs to get to Robbie X. But I think we've got a little bit more work to do with solidifying that position of Will Caven. Right? So I think...
Yeah, I feel like it would benefit from a little bit more time with him. I think what I would love is just for Will to get a couple of big statement wins.
So one of those for me, I feel like if we're still going down the route with it, high stakes, it should be Leo Rush, Will Caven. Leo Rush still has that opportunity for the title. We haven't kind of in canon.
High stakes is Doncaster, right?
Exactly.
There's Doncaster owed a Leo Rush match, aren't they? Because he couldn't missed his flight last time.
So you've got that in the chamber there. You could do that. You could then have hopefully Caven going over Leo Rush to then set up the elevation a bit more. Then maybe next event or even Revolution Rumble, Robbie X beats Will Caven. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the cruiserweight title changing hands at the Revolution Rumble is a perfect sort of thing, isn't it? Because the Rumble is the big spectacle all of its own.
Yeah.
But you're going to have 4, maybe 5 matches on that undercard that also need to sell tickets and promise big things.
Yeah.
You had the dog collar match this year, or last year, sorry. You had Josh Alexander. You had the title match of Michael Oku and Leighton Buzzard. So, a Will Caven versus Robbie X in the opener. Big moment for Caven, York Hall singles match. It doesn't matter that he's losing the title because, that's wrestling. You win titles, you lose titles.
Yeah.
But a big York Hall singles match in the opening match, him and Robbie could have a great match because Caven is a phenomenal pro wrestler. Like bell to bell, like in the ropes, he is as good as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie then gets the big win, and then you've got the second half of the year, all these global wars. If we're running that again, Royal Quest, the tag, the Junior Tag League, Best of the Super Juniors, how awesome would it be for undisputed British cruiserweight champion Robbie X to go out and do best of the Super Juniors with that belt?
Okay, so
going into that tournament, anyone who beats him is going to get a Rev Pro shot.
You just mentioned Global Wars there, and a picture's come into mind here. Global Wars, Robbie X versus Mystico.
Oh, mate.
Right, that is the match. That's the match that needs to happen. Right, Dave, we've got about 5 minutes or so before we need to end the recording because we're doing what we're doing and we just chat and get so engrossed in everything. I love it. But I do need to go make dinner tonight, actually. So that is why I'm cut down. So let's give some quick fire bits.
Quick takeaways.
Richard Holiday versus Harry Milligan, I thought it was good fun. For me, it wasn't about the match. It was about the story with Shah and Harry. That's what that was about.
Just a ton of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fun. Richard Holiday, there certainly was that. And like the character work was getting to come out, but it didn't feel like anyone was being overbearing with it.
He was the perfect dickhead.
Yeah, it worked really well.
Harry and Shah were brilliant. Shah was absolutely
at
his best all day Sunday. Really enjoyed it, mate. Just great
Shah
fun.
came across as in the right level of bully dickhead as well. Right?
Yeah.
That was coming out. Love that. And then obviously that sets up the match.
What a ridiculous outfit he was wearing as well.
Oh, it was ridiculous, but...
That was old school Shah, that was.
Yeah, it was. There's all these teasers coming through, isn't there? And also throughout the night on commentary, Josh James was being mentioned a lot by David Francisco.
Yeah.
On both the, contenders needed, go out there, Joshy. But also, he basically was mentioning about how he had to take the picture for Shah and Harry, take the video for Shah and Harry. So really building up that side. So I thought that was really good. Sky Smithson versus Kanji. Fucking incredible.
I loved it.
I'm just going to say, mate, two things. Pro wrestling at its best. And for those of you who have watched this and heard Dave and I bang on so many times about how Sky Smithson is one of the most underrated wrestlers in this country, about how we are expanding this women's division, and Sky Smithson, who's been integral before this division was even expanded the way it was, why is she not hit? All of that coming along with it. This was the reason why. This is why we bang on that. This is why I tweet all the time about how great she is, because I really feel that there's a whole new section of Rev Pro fans who will have never seen a Sky Smithson match before, who have now gone, I get it. And for her
there's nobody quite like her.
No.
She's a bitch, but she's also got a likability.
Yeah, she does.
I remember when she was wrestling Danny Luna for the Queen of Southside Championship in what would have been 2023. She was getting massively cheered in York Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you used to get chants of Sky's our champion. Because although she's a bitch, everyone quite likes a bitch now and then, don't they? She's our bitch. She's got a cheeky smile. She's the villainess, but she's also she doesn't tend to kind of bend the rules and break the rules and do the cheap stuff. She's just a villainess because she is a tough bastard who's going to give you a hard time in the ring with her.
She's accomplished.
And that's exactly what she did with Kanji. And Kanji just looks the real deal every single time we see it, right? To the point where it's almost getting repetitive how often we praise her.
Yeah, 17 minutes competitive match. Yeah, 17-minute competitive match against the informed wrestler in Rev Pro. when
And
there's
it
a
didn't
lot of
feel
wrestlers.
like it went long in the slightest.
No,
I'm actually really surprised you said 17 minutes.
I
I
could
would
have
have said 12.
I could have easily had another 5 minutes of that. Like, it was just so
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
sure.
there's a lot of it there, like you said, all the stuff that you mentioned about Sky, the fact that when you're talking about stature, right, those levels, Sky has never been really presented as the top level. So there's that level of, we can see how good she is, and getting behind that underdog, you see clawing. But again, to be put in there, right, here you go, return match back, Kanji. Okay, in some way you can say that's a gimme, right? Who's not going to have a good match with Kanji? But the pressure there of having the match with Kanji, because Kanji's having great matches with everyone. So
And they basically opened the show as well, right?
exactly, that's what I
Because
was
your
picking up.
opening match was such a. It was more of an opening segment than an opening match.
100%, mate. 100%. So you're starting off with a technical match as your first match on the show.
I'll tell you what. So really, yesterday it was a 6-match card with a squash match,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
and I sure felt like I got my money's worth.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the card was paced really well. Also, I loved that Sky came out to like a slightly remixed version of the Legion theme as well. I
Yeah,
really
that's
enjoy.
like her. And it's such a. I love that theme as well. I really
Yeah,
missed it. I found myself proper like tapping away to it. Do you know
yeah,
what I really want to see? I want to see Sky Smithson mixing it up with the Cutthroat Collective.
yeah. So do I.
And I know that on paper that's a bit of a weird dynamic, but I think it would work perfectly.
Sky
Because as long
has.
as Sky is outnumbered,
Yeah,
she is then the like de facto babyface, right? She's situational babyface. She can play babyface so well without having to be a babyface.
and
You know, she
so
doesn't
can
need to come out high-fiving people and smiling at people.
no.
She just needs to get a little bit of sympathy, because she'll get it, because people, especially if it is, do that in the 229, do it in London, because the 229 crowd knows Sky Smithson, and there's a lot of love for her in London. She's a London girl, like, and so much of her run was around York Hall matches and 229 matches.
Yeah.
Like, I'd really love that. Put her and Sapphire Reed, her and Lizzie Evo, I'd love those.
She's also got backup, mate.
Yeah,
LA
this
Taylor.
is it, right? She's got LA Taylor, and like, you know, we talked about you've pulled out some good predictions this year, mate. Because a few of yours that you predicted at the start of the year in one of our earlier pods have already come true. At least a couple of them already within the first 3 shows. Maybe we see some kind of reforming of the Legion.
Wow, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? An overall great show, but Dave, look, I'm going to tell you one of my predictions that did not come true this year, my friend, and that was that the Revolution Rumble would take place in Doncaster. That is what I called. I called Doncaster for the Revolution Rumble. That is not happening. But if you want to go to the Revolution Rumble on the 22nd of June, make sure you're on mailing lists. Ticket pre-sale is Monday, March the 17th, York Hall. That is going to be an absolute belter. This Friday, February 28th, the anniversary ticket, weekender combo tickets are going on sale. From my understanding, it's going to get a couple of months maybe before, I think it's end of March, beginning of April time. If I remember correctly from what I've read, Randy Quilden saying that until that point, it is just going to be combo only tickets with big discounts for people that are buying both. Obviously, we've got high stakes coming up as well. Tickets are still on sale for that. If you click the link that was sent via the email, you can get tickets that way. I've not seen them available on the website, but they're
not on general sale yet. It's still the mailing list only.
Yeah, there's some great value to be had in there.
If you don't have a mailing list code and would like one, just get in touch with RevPro on socials, because I'm sure we can get that sorted.
Yeah, I've just taken a look at the seating chart for that. I know there's been a lot of talk about the premium price for some of the tickets, and look, there was, and it was to be expected. Mercedes Moné is there, and I imagine that they're going to pack that show out. There is a lot of
I only paid £45 for my ticket.
I was going to say, in the stands, you and I paid very different prices
I
for
know
tickets.
full well that I'm going to have a cracking view sitting in the stands, because we sat in the stand last year and it was great.
The stands were wonderful. Like, if you're worried, the stands are going to be really far away, you're not going to get a good view. No, like, get yourself a stands ticket for £45, well worth it. And then on Saturday, the 14th of June, tickets are already on sale for the British J Cup in Stevenage. So plenty there.
Me and my girls have got tickets for that one, as is J Cup tradition. They saw Leon Slater win the trophy there. They saw Leo Rush win it, and they made a sign that said, "If Robbie X loses, we riot." For 2022 when Robbie won, so we will be there again this year.
Wonderful. That is part of my massive weekender I've got going on, where I'm driving all over the country. But I'm so glad it worked out when it was, because I loved the J Cup last year. It was so much fun to be there.
It's very rare that you get to tell a full story in a single night. So tons of fun.
Yeah. That is us, I think. Make sure to check out davethemark.com for all of your various different repro needs and lists and thoughts and opinions. David, anything else you want to plug or say before? Yeah, so many opinions.
No, mate, no. Just thank you to everyone, as always, for listening us ramble on about how much we love repro, and I hope you are enjoying the start to 2025 as well.
Absolutely right. Until next one, Dave. I'll catch you later, my friend.
Bye, bro.